We wrote this song called Game On for him. It was Super Tuesday was coming up in 2 days. I said, what can I do before Super Tuesday to help Santorum's campaign? Because I had seen him at 2 big event rallies in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so someone said, write a song. And I said, I'm going to write it tonight. And so I got on it, got to plunking my guitar, and then a song came up. Next thing you know, the next morning, my dad, my mom, Haley, we all finished it, rushed to the studio. 4 hours later, we had a song recorded. 6 hours later, we had like a video made, stayed up all night with the video guy, edited, put it up on Super Tuesday. So it's kind of a fast, cool story, huh? Kind of cool how that all kind of came together. Yeah, and so we just prayed and asked God to lead the whole thing. And so this is the song we wrote for Santorum. It has over 1 million hits now in 2.5 weeks. So I guess some people like Santorum, huh? So we're going to share a mic here because that's what we do sometimes. It might work, Haley. Just keep trying it out. Alrighty. So it's called Game On. Start it over. All right. Oh, it's working. Game on. Join the fight. We finally got a man who will stand for what is right. Game on. Victory's in sight. We've got a man who understands that God gave the Bill of Rights. Oh, there is hope for our nation again. Maybe the first time since we had Ronald Reagan. There will be justice for the unborn. Factories back on our shores where the Constitution rules our land. Yes, I believe Rick Santorum is our man. You guys believe that? Yeah? Game on. He's got the plan to lower taxes, raise morale, put the power in our hands. Game on. Change is at hand. Faithful to his wife and 7 kids, he'll be loyal to our land. Oh, there is hope for our nation again. Maybe the first time since we had Ronald Reagan. There will be justice for the unborn. Factories back on our shores where the Constitution rules our land. Yes, I believe Rick Santorum is our man. Woo! Oh, it's crazy what's been slipping through our hands when we the people are still supposed to rule this land. Rick understands, so there is hope for our nation again. Maybe the first time since we had Ronald Reagan. There will be justice for the unborn. Factories back on our shores where the Constitution rules our land. Yes, I believe Rick Santorum is our man. Yes, I believe Rick Santorum is our man. Yes, we believe Rick Santorum is our man. Game on.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still
Well, hello, Louisiana. I'm Josh Duggar, and we have a few of the Duggar family members here. We are so honored to be here at Louisiana College, and I tell you, it has been a great time here, and we are going to have a great victory tomorrow night. All this hard work, all these last few days especially, that you've been getting bombarded with television ads and phone calls, and your phones are probably just ringing off the wall. All that's about to come to an end. But this race is only beginning. We are going to go from here to Wisconsin. And we're going to go to these other states that are still out there, like our own, right up the road in Arkansas. And we're going to win. And we're going to win big. And you guys are going to give us a very good jump start to continue to push towards the finish line. And of course, the finish line is not when all these primaries are over. It's in November when we send Rick Santorum to the White House. That's right. So, as I mentioned before, I am the oldest of 19 children, and my parents have a show on TLC called 19 Kids and Counting. And we just finished up a YouTube video the other day. It's called 19 Reasons and Counting to Vote for Rick Santorum. So check it out on YouTube. And I just want to introduce really briefly here. This is my wife, Anna. And then our two little ones, Mackenzie and Michael. And then I have several of my siblings here. There's Jana and Jill and Jessa and Ginger and Joseph and Josiah and Joanna and Jedediah and Jeremiah. So, and then little Josie is right here in the middle, and she was so glad to be able to come with us as well. So, just wanted to say a quick hello. There's many reasons that this election means so much, and this is really the most important election of your lifetime, and probably for sure of your children's lifetime, because this means so much to our country. This means so much to freedom and to what it means not only here but around the world. And Senator Santorum has been a champion, not only of the values in Louisiana, but of the values of all Americans. And I think that it is so important what you're communicating tonight, as you're coming out and you're saying, we stand behind the man that represents our values. We stand behind the man who stands for life, who stands for our Second Amendment right to bear arms. And even though it's not popular all the time, and it's not always easy, he stands. And sometimes he stands alone, even standing against members of his own party. But this man knows what it takes, not only to stand for family values, but he knows what it takes because he lives them. And so I'm so thankful that each one of you are here. And I just want to say, no small effort will go unnoticed in this race. And even what you do between now and 24 hours from now will make a difference. Those polls will be closing, but all your work and all your efforts will pay off. So get on Twitter, get on Facebook, and get out there and let your message be known. And tell people why you're supporting Rick and encourage them to get behind him. And we can and we will win tomorrow. That's right. And we will not only win, but we will win big. So thank you guys so much. All right.
It's a great honor and a great privilege tonight to have Senator Rick Santorum on the campus of Louisiana College, home of the Louisiana College Wildcats. It's a especially pure moment because Louisiana College stands for a mission that has the four pillars, which include the preeminence of Jesus Christ, the authority of the Holy Scriptures. We believe and live the Bible is true. Academic excellence and a passion for changing the world for Christ by the power of the Holy Spirit. We stand strong and we stand true and we stand forever on those principles. And when I juxtapose that mission that's been here for 106 years at Louisiana College, I think about a man whose life has stood on solid biblical principles, unmoving, unchanging, unwavering, and that man is Senator Rick Santorum. He has stood as a family man, as a father, a husband, a person who has led in government, who has stood strong for those principles. And it's principles that we as Americans realize that we were founded upon so many years ago. I think about the words of Thomas Paine in 1776 when he said, "These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will in this crisis shrink from his call to duty. But he who stands it now deserves the love and thanks of men and women. Tyranny like hell is not easily conquered, but we have this greater consolation. The harder the triumph, the more glorious the victory. For what we obtain too cheaply, we esteem too lightly." And what Senator Santorum is standing upon is evident that he is a man of principle, and he is a man who God has ordained for such a time as this. So would you, along with me, give the warmest Louisiana College Wildcat welcome the next President of the United States, Senator Rick Santorum.
I just want to say that we're expecting a great night tomorrow night. We've been working all throughout the state of Louisiana. We've been to all corners of the state. We've been working and delivering a very clear and consistent message. And that's one of the things I think that the people of Louisiana are responding to. They're responding to someone who's running a positive campaign, talking about the big issues of the day, talking about what their plans are. When I was down in New Orleans and in Lafayette, and I was talking about the oil and gas industry and the plans we have, the problems that are confronting that industry, and what I would do as president, and why you could trust me to do that. Because I'm someone who has had a record of actually standing up and promoting fossil fuel developments in our country. Not because I understand, coming from the coal fields of southwestern Pennsylvania, that the cheaper the energy is, the more available it is, then the better and the higher the quality of life in America it is. It's a very simple calculation. You go in any country in the world and you look at the energy prices, and you look at the standard of living in those countries, and the more available and the cheaper the energy is, the higher standard of living. Look at what's going on right now with higher energy prices. It's crimping a lot of folks' pocketbook, and it's having a ripple effect through the economy. We're seeing higher food prices, higher other prices for goods because of the cost of transportation and the cost of goods that swell because of energy prices. That's why it's important to take advantage of the resources we have. Not just and it has a huge ripple effect, not just on the cost of energy, but here in Louisiana and so many other places. You'd be amazed all the places around this country where energy is produced. North Dakota and Pennsylvania, Ohio, New York, West Virginia, Kentucky, Texas. I mean, there's so many states, and out west, all throughout the West, there are tons of coal and all sorts of oil and gas deposits are being found. We have technologies now that allow us to release shale gas and shale oil, and all sorts of opportunities for us to become more energy self-sufficient, but also to power the economies of these regions. I look at what happened in North Dakota and Pennsylvania as two examples. I mean, the rural areas of these states have been flat on their back for years, struggling. And now you're seeing boom towns happening. You're seeing real wealth creation. You're seeing commerce and building. You're seeing people being able to get high quality jobs, and you see a smile on people's face, a little hop in people's step. It's not just lowering the prices for energy for the rest of America, but it's also about creating jobs and good paying jobs in areas of the country where they haven't had them for a long time, where people have been moving away from instead of moving to, because the quality of jobs didn't exist, or jobs at all didn't exist. This is the power of what we can do by producing energy in this country, lowering the cost of living, creating a better quality of life, creating better jobs in almost all the states around this country, and at the same time help reduce the deficit of this country, not only by getting people off government payments, by getting them better jobs, but if we would take all of the leases that are available in the Gulf of Mexico and in the Eastern Gulf and offshore and federal lands, and we would let the private sector responsibly develop those as the market demanded, We're talking about $2 trillion, $2.2 trillion over the next 30 years in lease sales to the federal government. Already, energy leases are the second, other than taxes individuals pay, it's the second highest amount of money that comes into the federal government coffers. And we've cut it dramatically under the Obama administration. We've had a policy that sees all this potential. Lower the deficit, increase the quality of life, create good paying jobs, help small town and rural America, lower our dependence on foreign oil, reduce the price of oil, which helps fund our enemies overseas who want to turn around and use those dollars to harm our men and women in uniform and supply arms and all sorts of training and techniques to terrorist groups. We have an opportunity for this to be a huge win all the way across the board for America. And the president has a two-letter energy policy. No. N-O. Why in the world would a president of the United States, given all of the benefits, take an energy policy toward creating all of these benefits and turn it around and tax you more, borrow money, and give money to algae projects? Or to some of his buddies who invest in windmills and solar panels. Now, I'm all for new technologies to be able to be developed, but let the market work in America. We have a tremendous opportunity to reduce the deficit, not increase it, by funding pork barrel spending on, quote, green energy projects that by and large have been boondoggles. We have an opportunity to have a real debate about energy, a meat and potatoes basic issue in our economy today. And there's one candidate in this race that can do that. One candidate get up there and talk about being the grandson of a coal miner who's worked to make energy a priority in our country, to try to open up areas for the opening up of ANWR, for federal leases and federal lands, for permitting processes that work, that are responsible and fair to those who are trying to responsibly drill, whether it's in Pennsylvania or off the coast of the Gulf or around the country. I've been there. I've supported that. I've always seen coal and gas and oil in the ground as assets, not liabilities. Unfortunately, not the other folks who are running for president in this race. President Obama doesn't feel that way. Newt Gingrich and Mitt Romney don't feel that way. At least in the past they did. You see, they all bought into this man-made global warming, that we had to keep gas prices high to drive down consumption. Governor Romney, when he was governor, said that. We have to get used to higher gas prices. What? No, we don't want to be using more gas here in America. He bought into it when it was popular, when everybody was going along for the ride, that the seas were going to overcome us and we were going to have all of this spike in warming. And of course, all driven by man, all driven by CO2, which the EPA has said is a toxin. Now, they didn't follow through with that, but that's what they believe under this administration, that CO2, carbon dioxide, is a toxin. Tell that to a plant. We have one of the best issues going forward in this campaign that hits every single American on so many levels. And there's only one candidate in this race who can take Barack Obama on, who hasn't bought into cap and trade and limiting on energy production and reducing the amount of consumption of gasoline in this country. Do I want to reduce and make us more efficient when using energy? You bet we do. But we need to produce more energy to increase the quality of life in this country and keep costs down. That's the highest priority. One candidate can take that to the president. Now, the other candidates, particularly Governor Romney, has said, oh, he's changed his mind. You know, he's taken out the Etch-a-Sketch. He's shaking it up a little bit. said that, we're changing our position on this, and I'm not for cap and trade anymore, and I'm going to make sure that we do all these oil and gas leases, and he'll talk a good game. But when the climate changed, that's when Governor Romney changed. When the climate changed in this country and we found out that climate science was really political science, then Governor Romney came over. And guess what will happen if things change again and the climate changes again? Folks, we need someone we can count on. Someone who can run this race and take it to Barack Obama. It's not the only issue. I'd say the biggest issue in this race, of course, people are concerned about the unemployment rate, they're concerned about the economy. But just like as a dad, when my son or daughter gets a fever, I'm concerned about the fever. But I want to know what's causing the fever. The unemployment rate is a symptom of a problem in our country. And we need to get to the point of what is the problem that's causing the economic slowdown and the lower employment rates. And the answer is pretty simple in America. Americans are different than people around the world. People around the world are accustomed, because they lived under kings and rulers and authoritarian regimes and now under socialist governments. They're comfortable having government play a huge role in their lives. You see, all of your ancestors, or the vast majority of them, they didn't come to this country because they were comfortable with that. They wanted to come to this country because they didn't want government running their lives. They didn't want to be ruled by kings, emperors, dictators, authoritarians, bureaucracies. They wanted, or czars, there you go. They wanted to be free. And they wanted to be able to pursue their dreams. They wanted to come to a country that believed in limited government and the unlimited potential of the American people. And so when Americans get that yoke of government on our shoulders, we don't just keep moving along. We bristle, we stop, we buck. I was just in Monroe earlier today, and I talked to a woman. We were talking about Obamacare at one of the rallies. She came up to me. I employed 243 people, she said. She says, if Obamacare actually goes into effect, I'm going to have to lay off every one of them and close down my business. I can't afford to operate under that. Now, I can tell you 30 to 50% of employers in this country have said they will drop their health care coverage as of now, and who knows what it'll be as it gets closer and people realize the tremendous benefit under Obamacare of dropping your employer-provided coverage. There's an incentive, particularly for higher cost plans, to drop that policy and just put it on the federal government still. Pay the fine, it's less than what it costs you to provide for your employees, and then pay people in taxes, pay people in income the difference. That's what they're going to do. 30 to 50% have said that's what they're going to do. We know the devastating impact that Obamacare is going to have and is already having on this country with just some of the regulations that have been put in place by the federal government. And we can see that Americans are bristling. 75% of Americans, the most recent poll said they do not agree with the government forcing everybody to buy insurance and dictating to you what policies and who you're going to go see and what you're going to be covered. Americans don't want that. They don't want what they or their ancestors left. That's why it's important in this race on the issue of government control of your lives and making you dependent upon government for your very health and life. These are big issues. These are issues of freedom, economic freedom, religious freedom. I want to applaud the folks here at Louisiana College for stepping up and protecting and defending religious freedom by filing. They stepped up because they know, you know here, One day they'll come after one religion, and if they're able to tell them what to believe, and they cut down that tree. Next day they may come after a different religion. They'll cut down that tree. And you keep thinking, well, I'll have another tree to hide behind. And pretty soon, when they come after your tree, and you're going to look around and there's no place to hide. So stand up once they start cutting down that forest and say, this is a forest that believes in all people being able to exercise their faith, not just in the buildings, not just in the churches, but in the schools and in the streets and in the public square. Just like energy, think of the richness of this issue, of the importance to the American people on so many levels. Government control of the healthcare system, what it's going to do to doctors and hospitals, what kind of care you're going to be given, or what the doctors are going to told what kind of care they can give under this system. People are going to be seen as units, not patients. You're going to be seen as a cost, not a profit center. You're going to have doctors who are going to say, you will do the medicine this way, or you will not be reimbursed, because we'll have quality standards. Any doctor will tell you medicine is great science, but it is also an art. Not everybody's the same, and not everything works the same on everybody. And not everybody wants traditional medicine. There are alternatives and other types of medicine. But not according to Obamacare. You see, we're going to have a panel of experts to tell you what everybody should get. Think of the levels of intrusion upon your life and your health and your freedom, your economic rights, your religious rights. This is the biggest issue that affects this economy, the cost to our business, driving up the unemployment rate, driving people out of employer-provided insurance, all of these things. Huge issues. Wonderful issues. To take it to Barack Obama, to draw a contrast between two different visions of America. One that believes in a healthcare system that is focused on giving you the power, you the resources, you the choices, as opposed to giving them all to a group of bureaucrats to make for you. And the consequences of a system that is a bottom-up, people-centered healthcare system, just like we have a bottom-up economy and everything else that has been successful. Let consumers drive it. Let you make choices. That's what works in America. That's what made America the most dynamic economy in the world. Imagine the great debate we can have in a public that's 75% already against what the president supports. But there's a candidate in this race who everyone says, oh, we should get out of the way for. It's inevitable. And who is this candidate in the race? Someone who proposed the very same system when he was governor of Massachusetts, and then went out and advocated that they adopt that system at the federal level, and encouraged the president to adopt the mandate, the forcing people to buy health care. Encourage them to adopt the system of limited choices of insurance and insurance pools run by the government, all the way down the list. Why in the world would the Republican Party take an issue that is so foundational to who we are as Americans, so foundational to what Republicans and conservatives fight for, go out and campaign for, and in a general election we will not have that issue to even mention? In fact, it'll be used against us by President Obama anytime that issue is mentioned. Say, well, I got the idea from your candidate. Energy, bread and butter issue. Health care, bread, butter, you name it, every issue. Two of the biggest reasons to defeat Barack Obama. And they're off the table in this election if we don't nominate someone who has a record of believing in you, not government. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most important election of your lifetime. Some people suggested, by the way, I say that in almost every single speech. I say that liberty itself is at stake in this election as Barack Obama is reelected. Every campaign, from Obama to Gingrich to Romney to Paul, knows that, because they all watch my speeches. Because unlike the rest of them, I don't use a teleprompter and read somebody else's words. And they know that my wife and I really thought long and hard and prayed long and hard whether we would actually get involved in this race, but we felt that defeating Barack Obama was so important that we were willing to get back out, sacrifice my time with my family and my kids. They're aged 20 to 3. Not the best time, folks, to be out running for president. Not the best time no. That's not the point. The point is this. Everybody knows full well my passion about defeating Barack Obama. And yet we see this ridiculous canard that is trying to be perpetrated by the Romney campaign that somehow or another I would vote for Barack Obama. Over my dead body would I vote for Barack Obama. But see, this is the small and pettiness of campaigns. Instead of focusing on the issues that are important, like I've talked about here today, talking about the big issues of who's the best person to go out and take President Obama on the issue of national security. Is it someone who is a Wall Street financier who has zero national security and foreign policy experience? Zero. Or is it someone who served 8 years on the Armed Services Committee? Wrote major pieces of legislation about Iran and Syria. Spent 5 years at a think tank traveling around the country lecturing on Iran, Syria, radical jihadism in the Middle East and its spread to Central and South America. Is it someone who really has a handle on the problems that we're confronting? Is that the best person to go out and take on President Obama and his failed policy, where he sees America as a source, a detrimental force in the world, that the president needs to go around the world and apologize for? You see, I understand our national security posture. I understand the threats that we face. I understand why the enemy wants to defeat us. And it's not because of what we do. It's because of who we are and what we stand for. And I will never apologize for that to anybody, anywhere. That's the kind of person we can have in this race, who has the experience to go out and take on President Obama on an issue that he is incredibly weak. So why would we nominate a candidate who has zero experience? Who says that he, like President Obama, is willing to cut the military? I've said it from the very beginning of this campaign. We need to cut $5 trillion over 5 years. I'm going to spend less money every year than the year before, because we need to get this budget balanced in 5 years. I support Paul Ryan's plan on entitlement reform. His tax plan is very similar to mine. I'm on board. But there's one thing I will not do. And I will not jeopardize the national security of our country or our men and women in uniform safety and security as they defend this country. And I will not cut the Defense Department, period. We will make sure that it is the strongest military in the world. For a lot of reasons, but number one, it's really the only real job the federal government under the Constitution has, is to defend our country. When I was born, the Defense Department was 60% of the budget of America. It is not 60% anymore. You would think it is by what President Obama has done to this budget. He's blown wide open every spending program you can imagine, except the Defense Department, which he has cut by $500 billion and proposed another $500 billion in cuts. You would think it is causing the problem. It is the reason we have a $1.2 trillion deficit. But let's look at the facts. When I was born, defense was 60% of the budget. It is not 60 anymore. It's not 50. It's not 40. It's not 30. It's not 20. It is 17% of the budget. Now, how can that be the problem? That over the last 50 years, we've seen the Defense Department shrink as a percentage of the overall budget, and what has increased? When I was born, less than 10% of the budget was entitlement programs. It is not 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50. It is 60% of the budget today. And guess what the president's signature achievement was? Creating a new entitlement, Obamacare, which will expand spending over the next 10 years by $2 trillion. This is the president's solution. Further make government the great redistributor of wealth, the great ruler of those in our economy that will have money taken from them and then given to others so they can be dependent upon the federal government for some aspect of their life. In the case of Obamacare, every single American will be dependent upon the government for their health and their life. When that happens, ladies and gentlemen, if that happens, and again, I say this in every speech, if that happens, and it will if Barack Obama is reelected, then we will be the generation that gave up on freedom in America. Now, I can tell you, I ain't going to vote for Barack Obama. But I am going to vote for somebody. I need you to vote for someone who can defeat Barack Obama on those issues. Ladies and gentlemen, this race is about big things. A lot of issues, but it all comes down to what Ronald Reagan said in his farewell address. Reagan said in his farewell address that his farewell warning, the last substantive thing he really said, his warning to America. He said at the end of his speech, this is always a place where a president sort of says something that is concerned about the future as he leaves. And his concern was that Americans would forget who we are. Through our schools, through our popular culture, through our news media, that we would forget the great country that we are and why we are great. And he called for better civic education, an understanding of who we are from our foundation. Winston Churchill said a similar thing when he said that the debate is never about the future, it is about the past. If you think about it, the debate about the future all depends upon what you think the past is about. If you believe that America is a great country that has accomplished incredible feats for humankind, opened up opportunities, and transformed the world, then of course you would look to the things in America, the principles that America was founded upon, and continue to adopt programs and plans that are consistent with that theme of limited government, free enterprise, strong families and communities, building a great and just society from the bottom up. If that's how you see America, that experiment in ordered liberty was a success, then of course you would apply those principles to the policies going forward. But if you see America in the past as a country that is broken, that is unfair, that has failed, that is discriminatory, list the whole laundry list of things that the president describes when he talks about America. That free markets don't work, that government needs to go and get involved in making sure that we redistribute wealth, then of course we have a very different projection as to what America should look like in the future. Because what most of us believed worked, according to the president, didn't work. That's why you see so much concern about government controlling education in this country. Why is the president putting so much money into establishing national core standards so the federal government can tell all your children what they're going to learn? They don't trust you out here in flyover country. That you, and as parents and as educators in your local community, can educate their children with the values that are important to be a good American citizen. No, they have to tell you what it means to be an American from Washington, D.C. and the ivory towers around this country. These are some of the great threats to the future of our country. Not believing in the bottom up in education, in healthcare, in energy, a whole host of other issues in our country. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is our watch. This election will be a defining election in the history of our country. And you have a huge role to play. Tomorrow you have a role to play. Are we going to nominate somebody that stands for those values, who's willing to go out and talk about who we are as a people, as Reagan did? People say, well, what made Reagan so great? He reminded us who we are. He reminded us how great we are and that we can and should and we must believe in ourselves, not the government. Reagan always talked about our founders. I love the Tea Party, and I thank the Tea Party for resurrecting the United States Constitution into the political discourse of this country. It's a great document, but in and of itself it's insufficient. It is the how of America, the operator's manual, how the government's supposed to function, which of course is a limited federal government. The 10th Amendment clearly giving most of the responsibilities, and the Article 2 and Article 1 and 2 and 3 giving most of the responsibilities and powers not to the branches of government, to the states and to the people. It's pretty clear how this country was built with a limited government thanks to that Constitution. But it's important to understand the Constitution alone, well, it's a great document, could have been a dangerous document. In fact, it has been in other countries that have adopted similar constitutions. But what anchored the Constitution, what made it the great document that it is, it's anchored to another document. And that, of course, is the Declaration of Independence. And the Declaration of Independence, I always say, is the heart. Those words that we all know in that declaration is the heart of American exceptionalism. It's what makes America America, unique in the world. Because America is not an ethnicity. I mean, there are Native Americans, but we all call ourselves sort of hyphenated Americans, right? Whether it's an Italian American or Irish American or whatever, we're all hyphenated Americans. So what is America then? If it's not an ethnicity or a race, what is it? It's an ideal. It's a concept. that most of the world can identify what it is. But we in America, at least some in America, are trying to fuzzy that up a little bit. Trying to fuzzy up what America is at its core. What makes you an American is that you accept the principles that we can all agree on, or historically have been able to all agree on. People say, Rick, how are you going to bring America together? By reminding us what we can agree on and start from there. Can we all agree that these words in the Declaration of Independence are at the heart of who we are? We hold these truths. I know some people in America have trouble with the word truth. I know you don't hear. You're okay with the word truth here at Louisiana College. But a lot of folks, particularly a lot of colleges, have trouble with the word truth. But our founders didn't. They said, we hold these truths to be self-evident, apparent to all. Apparent to all. People of faith, people of no faith. But these are self-evident truths, written on the heart of every person, known and discoverable by everybody. Because it's how we were made. That all men were created equal. It's a truth that all men are created equal. Take the people who don't believe in truth in America. Yet they call out and say, we believe in equality. Well, if you don't believe in truth, why do you believe in equality? If you can't discern truth, then what demands equality? And where do you get this concept of equality from? Is it true that all men are created equal? I have a beautiful little girl. She is the love of my life. She's 3.5. Her name is Bella. She's a special needs little girl. And there isn't a girl in the world who loves her daddy more than that girl loves me. And the same for me. She is special. And the world doesn't see her as special. Oh, they see her as special, but they see her as different. They see her as disabled. In many cases, particularly the medical profession, but others, see her as a child of which we should just let go. Let her die, because she won't be able to do anything. Except, of course, love. You see, that little girl, in the eyes of many people, is not equal to this young man or to that young lady. And how about this man? Is he equal to her? No, he's stronger than he is. She is. She is much better looking than he is. He gave me a thumbs up on that one. Nobody in this room is equal from the standpoint of whether we're the same. What makes us equal then? We all have gifts and talents that make us all different. We're all different. We're not all equal. What makes us equal is that we were endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. That's what makes us equal. And what makes America different? No other country in the world planted its flag on the fact that rights come to each and every one of us from the divine God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's who we are. That's what America was founded upon. And it was founded upon this idea that we could exercise these rights. Life. We are a country that has never quite lived up to all life being seen as equal in America. We have fallen short throughout our history, as we fall short today. Liberty. Liberty to pursue happiness. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Fundamental right? They didn't say happiness, life, liberty. They put it in order. Have to be alive in order to enjoy freedom. And you'll never be happy unless you are truly free to do what? To do what? What are you free to do? That's another fundamental issue in this election. Well, not in the election, in this country. What does freedom really mean? Freedom to do whatever you want to do? Is that the freedom that our founders talked about? Well, that's the freedoms a lot of Americans now talk about. Freedom to do what you want to do. I always tell people, if you think America was the freedom to do whatever you want to do, go out and get in your car and try driving down the left lane of a highway. See how far you get. No, it's not the freedom to do what you want to do that our founders established. Because that's not what freedom really is. It's freedom to do what you should do, what you ought to do, what you are called to do. See, that's how America did and can work, is that people live lives of respecting all life, of respecting liberty for everybody to go out and do what they should do. Because, of course, that's what happiness means. Happiness means doing things that you ought to do. That's what truly makes you happy, not things that you know may be temporal pleasures, but ultimately don't lead to real happiness. See, that's what Americans held up as the ideal. Did we fall short? Of course, we're human. We always fall short. But the ideal of America inspired people to try to pursue that. To build strong families, communities. Why? Because what we ought to do is be good husbands and wives. What we ought to do is be good fathers and mothers. What we ought to do is be good neighbors. What we ought to do is be good people of the church. What we ought to do is be good educators. To be our brother's keeper. To build a great and just society. From the bottom up. And guess what happened? It worked. Imperfectly, of course, but it worked. And America transformed the world. Because it let loose the American spirit. You could rise to the stars and reap the fruits of your labor, and government wasn't there to punish you and give it to somebody else. No, they said, we believe in you rising, and if you do rise, guess what? Everybody will rise with you. And there was no jealousy. There was a lauding of success. And there was actually stigmas in this country of people who didn't do their fair share, that didn't work as hard as the others, that didn't pull their load. All of those stigmas are gone. All of those stigmas, the reverse, the honors that come with success are now looked at as greed and selfishness. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a big job to do. We have a big job to do in America. We have to remind us who we are, what made us great, the fact that we transformed the world. The average life expectancy at the time of 1776 was the same as it was for 2,000 years, 35. And then America happened, and we've more than doubled life expectancy. Changed the economy of the world. By and large, an agrarian society for 2,000 years, and we went through an industrial revolution, a technology revolution. What we are participating, how many people in this room have a cell phone? How many people could live without their cell phone? How many people had a cell phone 20 years ago? This is the dynamism of America. This is who we are. And this is what's at stake in this election. So I ask each and every one of you, tomorrow, please go out and help us. If you walk out here and say, okay, I think I'll vote for this guy, that's great, but it's not enough. I need you to get out there tomorrow, call your friends. Get a chance to say hello to some folks here, take some pictures, post it on Facebook, send some emails, make a difference. Our founders said that they would pledge their lives, their fortune, and their sacred honor. And they did. And generations of Americans after them did. But freedom, which was threatened so many times in our country's history, from threats from both within and without, generations always met the task, rose to the occasion. That's what you need to do, folks. You need to rise. You need to rise to the occasion and do your part. Ronald Reagan, one of his great speeches, said he feared that one day we would have to tell our children and our children's children what it was like to live in America where we once were free. You don't want to ever have that conversation. But it does not come without cost. So I ask for your help. Go out there and let Louisiana and conservatives and people who understand who we are get out and speak loudly. Do your part, 24 hours. Make a difference. And you will leave in November, having done your duty, run the race, and you can able to lift high that torch of freedom and said, I met the challenge for freedom in America. Thank you all very much. God bless you.